May I please speak? You may. Thank you.
How did he get at the beginning of the agenda?
Cost me the lunch. All right, Derek has asked Lori to come. We've voted about a half hour to a big part of what the commissioners are charged to do is manage the finances of the county. So, Lori.
Good morning. I'm going to talk with you briefly this morning about our sales tax revenues, our ad valorem and motor vehicle tax revenues, our overall general fund revenues, our overall general fund expenditures, and then we'll take a look at our debt service for this upcoming fiscal year of 2015 and beyond. First of all, we'll talk about our sales tax revenues. Just to remind everyone, there is a 3-month lag between retail sales and the sales tax collections and when we actually receive those. So these numbers on the screen are actually representing July through October retail sales. So for example, those October retail sales, the county did not receive that sales tax until this month. This year we're at 37% of budget, but of course you see my budget number is a little higher. And I think as Tommy indicated in his, retail sales seem to be pretty stable, maybe slightly growth. So from my numbers, the 2.7 for this year versus the 2.6 from last year is actually just a slight tick up. We're up about 1.9%. And then, of course, bear in mind that only represents 4 months. We have 8 more months to collect. But again, at least that's a positive. At least we're not going the other way. When we do have a slight increase. And as you can see from our ad valorem and motor vehicle taxes, and I'm sure Richard will probably touch on this in his presentation, but budget to actual, we were at 81% last year. We're at 84% this year. And my numbers only include the current year levy of motor vehicle tax and ad valorem tax. When Richard may talk later on his collection percentages, I think they bring in the late listings and penalties and some other charges that I'm not capturing here.
And more than 25,332 and 25,394 is
that's a
the
budget
budgeted amount of ad valorem tax in our total budget. Represents about half of it.
Right. More, yeah. More than half, a little more than half. Yes, you're correct. The 25,394,671 represents our budget for current year motor vehicle and ad valorem collections. So, and just to point out, I don't know if you're going to mention these percentages, but I get a report, and I think those same reports may be on your monthly agendas, but Margaret sends me monthly reports. And I know, again, they include things that I'm not including here, but their collections at least seem to be up about 2% over the same time period last year. And as you can see, minus 3%. And again, it's because my numbers that I'm looking at are a little different than what they look at. Looking at our total general fund budget, our total general fund budget currently is $47,755,565. We have collected $28.7 million for the first 6 months of the year. We're at 60% of our budget, and as you can see, compared to last fiscal year, this same time we're also at 60%. So as far as our revenues, we're right on track of where we should be. So that's a good thing. You kind of see the same trend on expenditures. Again, our budget's a little over $47.755 million. Our expenditures are 19.7, which represent 41% of that budget. This same time last year, we were at 40% of budget. So again, we're right on track. Things are moving along as they should. And then last but not least, this is always a subject that interests everyone, is our debt. And I apologize, I know that for you in the back of the room, I'm sure they're hard to see. But the point of this graph is to show that for the upcoming fiscal year, our debt load is right at $5 million. And as you can see, moving into 2016, it drops down to 4.1. It keeps dropping slowly year after year. So this is just to kind of show you that maybe in a couple in the upcoming next few years, we would have some course, it'd be lovely, of course, if we could trend on out and not have to incur any other debt, but realistically, we know that's not possible. But again, this is to show you that we do have some debt falling off and have a possibility for some capacity in consideration, of course, with all of our departmental requests.
Do you know what the debt load was? Do you have a history of the debt load?
The only history I think I have on me is current year. Current year, we're at, I think it's 6.2 million. Yeah, current year, we're at 6.2 million.
I can't see that. It's 5 million for 15.
Yeah, it's almost 5 million.
So we're gonna drop a million.
Yes. And just to point out, like as Derek said in his presentation, from just 2013, we're dedicated to the community, to education and trying to look for our future. If you add up all of these columns here, that totals $43.7 million, and about 88.5% of that is school-related debt. So that's just a FYI.
So total debt, 43 what?
43.7 million, and that is principal and interest combined. And about 88.5% of that is school-related debt.
Yeah, you gave us a pie chart last year on that. We'll get that again in the next.
In the budget, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's cool.
And that's all I have, unless you guys have any questions.
Your department intended the budget, which the ad valorem taxes, of course, we said. The variable, I guess, is that sales tax, which is our second, isn't that our second largest source? After ad valorem.
Probably, I mean, it's pretty substantial, but you've got to factor in, well, I guess related to overall general fund, yes, it would be.
So what?
You have DSS and health, of course, their revenue streams probably larger than that, but of course their revenues are focused solely for that department. But yes, I would say sales tax behind property tax to kind of cover our overall general fund functions.
What did we make 5 million?
The sales tax,
This year,
7.3 million.
Okay, so,
Part of it goes, and that's another thing maybe I need to mention to make sure that everybody's aware of. Part of the sales tax has to be specifically dedicated for schools. So we have to earmark a certain percentage of that, which goes to a different fund, that we show, and we use that to help pay on our school-related debt.
you said that the sales tax is trending about
1.9%.
About 1.9%.
Just to compare 4 months last year to the first 4 months this year.
So you're just preliminary thoughts about that revenue item for next year. What would you think that would be? You would project about a 2%
I'll see
increase,
what
flat, or what?
I'll see what the NCACC puts out. They usually, they haven't put that out yet, but they usually put out for all types of revenues, kind of projected growth. Then you have to adjust that based on your community. But probably at this point, yeah, I would look at 1.5 to 2. I always try to be more conservative.
You want to project that low?
Yes, I'm more conservative, so, yeah, I would project, if I did project the increase, it'd be on the lower side, 1.5 to 2.
Because they're, Tom's going to have to trade with unemployment dropping from 13 to 7.2. And obviously there's more people working, more people spending, more people buying goods, that kind of thing. Which I think that the trend would be to see that sales tax continue to increase.
We hope so. And again, 4 months is really hard to
And it's
know
a
what's
lag,
gonna
you know.
happen. And like I said, with there's such a lag, we haven't even, realized what our November, December retail sales were, which is your Christmas season.
According to yesterday, we talked about that down yesterday, it seems to be surprisingly,
Really
that's what we said, I'm looking,
surprisingly.
surprisingly. Roy, I know your department, and thank you again, that we had a substantial refinancing debt
Yes.
and saved a lot of money. I know the interest rate's pretty stable. Have you checked the markets to see what's Is that another possibility this year to save any money, or is that too early to say?
We've refinanced all the debt we can at this point. You can only
Okay.
refi it once, and we really don't have any other debt out there that would be, you know, the COPS issue. COPS issue rolls off, I think, after 2016. So right now,
We're done.
we're pretty much done, you know.
Well, I don't know how you get lower than 0.0.
Correct.
On that pie chart, I was talking about last year, we were showing our total debt around 57, 58 million. If we did debt service of 6 million, that's what we paid on our debt this past year.
Yes.
How does that drop it to 44?
Probably what you're looking at was actual, I don't know which
Yeah, that was
fiscal
just,
year.
you're gonna do this again.
Yes, that's
These
for the budget
parentheses are-
presentation.
We're all good, so we won't get into that.
Yeah, my numbers for 2014 through 2031 was a total of right at 50 million. So yeah, so like 6.2 was the difference, and that's what our current debt
So
load
maybe
is.
this chart didn't reflect the previous year's
Right.
debt service.
Right.
Just a general comment, I think it's important to note what Lori said, that 88% of that was education, and I think we all understand, not that we're, Gary, completely done with education, but I think we all recognize we're to the point that our schools were in pretty bad shape. If you go back 15 years, and with the completion of the Iowa project, we're in pretty good shape, unless a future board decides, for example, build a new high school or something of that nature, which I don't really see on the horizon. Being that 88% of that debt are things that are taken care of potentially for the next 30 years. Lori, I see our debt continuing to decrease. I don't see any large projects of that magnitude that we've done over the past 10 or 15 years. Of course, some of that's the early projects. I'm assuming like the South Macon and those have begun to roll off.
Yeah, we still have, South Macon, would that be the 5-6 school?
No, that's intermediate.
K3.
South Macon was refinanced twice, wasn't it? Right. But I guess my point is that 88% of that debt was carried to playing catch up. In fact, the county had not, my opinion, had not spent a little bit along and put it off to the point that our schools were in terrible shape. They were awful. And now we're at the point that by and large, area schools are at or above any county in the country. Or the structure, the infrastructure, the technology, we're sort of there. So that, I guess, where my point is that I would agree. I think you'll continue to see that debt come down rapidly as you graph that. Unless there are projects that future boards choose to do of that magnitude, I just don't see anything like that coming soon.
Yeah, on my chart, I had it listed at 5-6 school, that would be the intermediate.
That's an intermediate school.
So it's actually a combination of the intermediate and East Franklin Elementary. That doesn't pay off till 2029.
But those were combined.
Those were combined, yes. Of course, that was a substantial project. I don't have the original debt here, but we owe like 15.5 million, including current fiscal year, which of course will drop to 14.5 million in the upcoming. I think it might have been about $20 million project.
What's really amazing is, those schools were built in a time when most people weren't doing a whole lot, but we built them for the much lower square footage costs than some of the older schools were built at. We come in on budget or under budget. And
Well, back at the beginning, we built South Macon and R2J were built less than $100 a foot.
that was in stomach. They didn't have concrete.
Laura, you are a tremendous asset to this county, and it's been a pleasure to deal with, a wealth of information from you. I personally can't thank you enough for what you do for us.
You gonna put out some general fund information to me, or?
General fund information, what do you mean?
how much we have in our general fund?
Fund balance.
Oh, fund balance, I have not completed any fund balance projections as of this point. When we move into the budget process and are presenting the budget, I feel a little comfortable then, after we have a couple months behind us to do fund balance projections.
And do you know what the going interest rate is for, for loans right now for the county?
Do we have that on the
Yes, sir.
agenda as an item?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
well,
okay, it's not an
just-
item. I guess we could distribute that, you know, we go ahead and hand out those, Derek.
Sure.
Just, we talked about the other night, at our board meeting Tuesday night, of course, about the Parker Meadows project. So I did contact BD&T Governmental Finance and just said, okay, the county decided today to borrow $2.7 million for a 10-year term and also $2.7 million for a 15-year term. What would the rates be? And of course, you've got to understand this is in today's market conditions, but the 10-year loan was actually a 2.48%. A 15-year loan was 3.19. So that kind of gives you an indication of the market. The shorter term you can go, the better rate you're going to get. And if you compare the interest paybacks over the 10-year loan versus the 15-year loan, you're actually paying 90% more interest just by extending it 5 years due to the difference in interest rate of 2.48 and 3.19. So again, if you decided to borrow only $2.7 million for 10 years, your annual payment would be about $335,000 the first year. And, of course, it decreases, your principal is going to be fixed at $270,000 a year, and then your interest is going to decrease slightly over time. But again, this is just, some ballpark numbers, just to kind of give you an idea, if you did decide to, move forward with the Parker Meadows, developing that recreational complex fully. And just to remind everyone, this size of loan and term would have to require local government commission approval. So from start to finish, you're probably looking at 60 to 90 days, to meet all of their requirements. That you have to fill out an application, of course, solicit bids, so there's, it's not like we could go out tomorrow and say, we're going to borrow this money. There's a process to it, which takes time.
Stop by and talk to Bill Guthrie at the local government commission, and they're not exactly overwhelmed with requests. And he said one of them was going to submit one, and they needed good, and he said.
But anyway, I did get those numbers, appreciate BB&T providing those, and again, understanding everybody that this is just a ballpark rate based on current conditions, and as we move down the road, of course, and, if you guys say, yes, we want to move forward, then, the rates could be higher, the rates could be lower, but again, this is just to give you a ballpark.
But the trend right now is not that the rates are going up slightly.
They are.
And I assume that's the reason the shorter term loans
Shorter
are
term,
favorable.
yes.
Any questions, Rory, about anything she covered, or questions about something she didn't cover? Anything at all?
Thank you, Lord.
Rory, I echo what Jim said, you do an excellent job. I think all of us were I was nervous wouldn't have been the word, but a little anxious when Evelyn decided to retire. She did such an excellent job and was always so on top of it. And you were an unknown coming in, and you exceeded expectations. You've done an excellent job. Appreciate you very much. Commissioner Gill referred to a minute ago, the work we did on refinancing debt has saved us
I think it was about $2 million.
over $2 million. And she's a tough negotiator with these bank people. I think they can say. Okay, that's a good segue there.